So, hello everyone, and welcome back to STW Sports. I'm host Samuel Wright, joined by Leeds United fan Russ Vernon. And Russ, we all know there's been a lot of events going on at Leeds United recently. Marcelo Bielsa has, of course, very much unfortunately been sacked by the club, and he has been replaced by Jesse Marsh. Your initial thoughts on this, please?
Bielsa from the my initial thought, Sam, was I thought Bielsa should have been given till the end of the season because we've got Liam Cooper coming back shortly, Calvin Phillips, Patrick Bamford, obviously in the press conference earlier, and which Jesse Marsh took today, which will probably go on a bit later on in the programme. Patrick Bamford is back in training for the first time for quite a while. Bielsa said he was far away from training, but he's now back in training today, which is a good sign to see. Phillips and Cooper back on the grass, not available for the game against Leicester the weekend, but will be available in the coming weeks. He did mention, so that's a good bit of news to hear that the players are coming back and the span of his team is coming back. Obviously, I would have given Bielsa till the end of the season, like I think a lot of the Leeds fans would have done, especially because we've got so-called winnable games coming up in Norwich City, Aston Villa, who can probably beat at home, got Leicester, which will be a tough task, but we've got some teams in and around us down at the bottom end of the table, in Watford as well, who's down there. We beat at Ellen Road early on in the season, I think we could beat them again. But some people, I think he would have probably kept us up. Whether Jesse Marsh will keep us up, I'm not sure just yet. He's saying all the right things, and the players seem to be more happy and looking in good spirits from the training videos I've seen and from what I've heard from the new manager. So hopefully he can keep us up. I think Bielsa would have kept us up, but I'm not 100% sure if Jesse Marsh will at the moment, but we'll have to wait and see how his reign goes, starting with the game against Leicester this weekend.
Yeah, big game, of course, against Leicester at the weekend, but we'll go into that a little bit later on. I'm going to ask you now, Russ, about Bielsa. Though obviously took over the club in 2018 in the summer when you just finished around about 13th, I believe it was, in the Championship. So a lot of changes made immediately under Bielsa, of course, came in, made a big impact, did get the club promoted to the Premier League in his second season in charge, had a great first season in the Premier League, a ninth place finish, but this season injuries have kind of caught up with the squad and things have just gone a little bit wrong, really. I guess you can say the amount of goals Leeds have conceded, of course, has been a massive problem, the most in the Premier League up to this point. Sum up the Bielsa reign, though, from a Leeds fan's point of view.
Yeah, very, very good from Bielsa. When he first came in, as you mentioned, we were 13th in the Championship, struggling at the bottom, mid-table-ish in the Championship under Paul Eckingbottom. No disrespect to Paul Eckingbottom, but Christensen tried to get us up. He failed, so Lord managers tried to get us up there and failed. In his first season, Bielsa came in, we just missed out in the playoffs to Derby County. The second season, we went up as champions, 10 points clear of West Bromwich Albion, who also went to with us at that time, and then we 9th place finish in the Premier League in his first season. This season, injuries to key players such as Calvin Phillips, Patrick Bamford, Liam Cooper, Stuart Dallas at times, Luke Ayling, some of the key players of the Bielsa reign. And one of the other players at one point out, Mateus Click, he played almost every minute from when Bielsa came in from that first game against Stoke. He only missed out again on playing in every single game under Bielsa in the Football League and in the Championship was when he was too hungover, as he decided to say himself, and he missed out on the game where we got the God of Honour at Derby. Then Bielsa's done brilliant for the club. We were, like I said, we were a mid-table Championship club when he first came in. Yes, we're struggling at the bottom end of the season, in the Premier League this season, should I say. But I think that was down to the injuries to the key players and the span of the team. And I was speaking to someone earlier on in the week where they're a Liverpool fan, and when Liverpool lost Virgil van Dijk and players like that, key players to the span through the span of their team, Liverpool struggled in the league. Leeds have struggled this season with the span of the team being missing for a number of weeks now, not being available since 5th of December was when Leeds last saw Patrick Bamford, Liam Cooper and Calvin Phillips in the side, and Patrick Manford came off on the bench. Now and then got re-injured. Not seen Phillips or Cooper since that Brentford game either. So I think it's down to that why we've struggled in recent weeks. And I looked at some numbers earlier in the week as well. And we've mentioned in some of the commentaries on the TV on matches when we've been on TV. Leeds United have conceded the majority of goals when we've not had Calvin Phillips, Liam Cooper in our starting lineup. Majority of our goals, which we've now conceded 60 in the season so far, 20 in the whole month of February alone. The majority of the goals which we conceded before that was less than what we've been conceding now. And it was, and yes, some people may say Cooper's not a Premier League defender, but he's a great organiser. Players draw out position, he'll pull Dallas into right back if he gets drawn out. So there's, where there's gaps, he'll drop people, tell people to slot in, so there's not that many gaps in the areas where teams can hurt us. But I think Bielsa did a fantastic job, and as I put it on Facebook, you've probably seen, Sam, that Bielsa will be welcome back to Leeds, and I just want to say gracias once again to Marcelo Bielsa for the work he's done at Leeds United.
Yeah, certainly going to go down as some great years at the club after what was quite difficult, 15 years, of course, before he took over the club. He certainly brought the fan base together, and of course, does give Leeds some fantastic moments. So sure, he'll be very much missed at Ellen Road and the Argentine. But now we move on to an American international, Jesse Marsch. Does have some managerial experience in the MLS, in the Austrian League, and in the Bundesliga. Russ, obviously, I'm just going to ask your thoughts on Jesse Marsch, coming into the club. Big shoes to fill in Bielsa, but what's your take on Marsh? Maybe what you've seen of him, or maybe just what you got from his press conference today. What are you kind of expecting?
Well, with Jesse Marsch, he's said, like under Bielsa, we went man-to-man marking in virtually every single game under Marcelo Bielsa. Under Jesse Marsch, we will not be going man-to-man marking. It'll be more zonal marking, and instead of a ball-orientated press, so say Leeds win the ball, lose the ball in the opposition final third. It's then Leeds, we've got win the ball back and score within 10 seconds, like to play. And say if the ball's out wide, he'll put five players out on that one player with the ball. Fetch, have three players in the middle, so then we can win the ball, unbalance opposition and break on them fairly quickly and try and score within the 10 seconds of winning the ball back, like he has done in previous games. His preferred formation is a 4-2-2, and he likes to use some of the young players. So for you see the more likes of Joe Gellar, Joffe as he's known at the club, Crescencio Somerville, Charlie Creswell, Lewis Spate, just to name 4 of the youngsters who's been around the first team under Bielsa recently as well. Jamie Shackleton is another one we probably may see more of under Jesse Marsch. From his press conference, he comes across really, really well. Very good press conference earlier. Did a fantastic press conference. He knows what big shoes he were to fill in Marcelo Bielsa. Respects Bielsa for what he's done, and respects the fans for not wanting Bielsa to go. And his love for Bielsa, but the other time he said he knows that he'll get the fans on. Some fans are moving on to side, as he mentioned. He saw some fans early on in the week who said they're upset with Bielsa going, which he understands. Well, they said they'll be behind him 100%. Now he's at the club, which he likes, and he's been following what Bielsa's done. And his style is similar to Bielsa, whereas with Bielsa it was more gung-go approach, man-to-man. He's more ball-orientated presses and quick presses and counter presses as well. So could see quite a lot of goals for Leeds within that, and it won't leave us as open as we have been under Bielsa, especially majority of this season due to the injuries that we've had, which I've mentioned earlier on.
Yeah, I just want to ask now about the relegation battle, though, Russ. I mean, obviously, as a Leeds fan, you'd rather not be in the relegation battle, I'm sure. But unfortunately, that's where the club are, just 2 points above the drop at the moment. Probably a great result for you guys last night. The fact that, of course, Leicester did defeat Burnley by 2-0 at Turf Moor. Yeah, I mean, for Leeds this season, I mean, obviously, you've got a few games coming up. You've got the likes of Norwich and Watford in your next few games, which you did mention a little bit earlier on. Relegation battle, which 3 teams right now do you think are facing a draw?
well, at the moment, from what I've seen of the teams that are down at the bottom end of the Premier League table, which, well, Leeds United are as well. Some with what I've seen from the clubs in the Premier League this season. Currently, we see Norwich, Watford, and Burnley in the bottom three. Everton down there as well. Brentford slowly dropping towards the drop as well. Just 9 points between 12th place Leicester City and Burnley, who's sitting 18th on Leicester on 30 points, Burnley on 21 points. So any one of those teams can really go down. I think once Leeds get the key players back, and it looks like from what I've seen from video that Leeds put out earlier on the club social media, the players are biting into the way that Jesse Marsh is going. So for me, down to the three teams again relegated. If one of my friends watches this, I'm going to apologise to JB, John Stuttard, from a friend of mine who works with me on one of the commentary channels that I cover, where I do alternative off-tube remote commentaries on some of the matches. He's a Burnley fan, so I think Burnley will probably go down, although they have started picking up two defeats, 2 wins and a draw in the last 5 for Burnley, but I think they'll go down. I think Norwich, I think they'll probably go down. They had a little mini revival when Dean Smith first came in at Carrow Road. I think they're going to go down as well. And I think from what I've seen so far, I know Everton beat us, but then they've got 4 defeats in the last 5 matches, Everton in the league. And I think Everton will potentially could go down as well. But for me, what I'll say is the 3 to go down will be Norwich City, Brentford. I think Brentford may go down as well. 4 defeats in 5 for them in the league, and Burnley. So Burnley, Norwich, and Brentford. Not sure which order, but they're the 3 for me, which I think will go down now. And if I remember correctly from when I did a prediction at the start of the season, which I can just find out what I went for at the beginning of the season, because I did predictions at the beginning of the season before the season started for Premier League relegation for the channel, which I mentioned briefly a few minutes ago. I did actually say Brentford, Brighton, and Norwich to go down, but I think Brighton are now safe after what they've done this season. Remarkable work from Graham Potter there. So for me, I think Norwich, Burnley, and I think Brentford will be the team to go down. And from the beginning of the season, just Watford and Brighton are swapping that round for me. So I think Watford, Brentford, and Norwich, Burnley, and Brentford for me. I reckon I'll go down with Burnley replacing Brighton in my team. One of the teams I think will go down. So as again, Burnley, Watford, Brentford, and Norwich for me, Sam.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And at the top end of the table, I mean, Manchester City, it looked like at Christmas the title race, Man City were running away with it, really. They, of course, picked up quite a few wins in a row. Liverpool and Chelsea were losing plenty of ground. Liverpool, though, are slowly making up that ground now, and I believe they're 6 points, actually, behind Manchester City, with, of course, a game in hand, I believe, as well at the moment. So, Liverpool still very much within a chance. So which way do you see the title race swinging this season?
Well, at the start of the season, Sam, I've just, from what I mentioned, I've got the spreadsheet open in front of me. With the start of the season, my top 4 was Manchester United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Man City. So Man City champions, Chelsea second, Liverpool third, Manchester United fourth. So my top 4 that I mentioned at the start of the season is currently the top 4 in the table at this moment in time. From what I've got here, Chelsea and Liverpool are just a long way around for me in the top 4 from where it is at the moment. For me, I think Man City will win the title. I think Chelsea, because they're just 10 points behind Liverpool and got a game in hand over them. So I think Chelsea could get that back. I think which are playing some good football at the moment, did well to knock out Luton in the FA Cup in midweek, which we had to come from behind twice in to be past Championship side Luton did Chelsea. So I think Chelsea will. So for me, I think it'll be Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester United, the top four, and I think it'll be in that order. Now, so I'm still sticking with Man City to win it, and I'm still thinking Chelsea may just pick Liverpool to the second place spot in the table this season, Sam.
Yeah, and now I'm going to ask about Leeds United's game against Leicester City. I did touch on it very briefly earlier on. When the two sides met at Ellen Road back in November, the game ended in a 1-1 draw. Two excellent goals, actually, a Rafinha free kick and a wonderful equaliser in that game, I remember, by Harvey Barnes. Actually, I had the privilege of commentating on that game myself. So it was a very entertaining game at Ellen Road, actually. But Leicester have just got a win against Burnley away from home, so you'd imagine they'll take a little bit of confidence going into that game. Jesse Marsh's first game, though, always get a bit of a manager bounce, most of the time anyway. What are your thoughts going into that one at the King Power Stadium, Russ?
Yes, I think Leeds could end up winning here, Sam. And the reason behind why I think Leeds could end up winning this one of the weekends, Sam, is because a lot of the teams, Leicester included, in the Premier League and teams that we've got coming up in the table as well for the matches coming up, which I mentioned, because we've got Villa coming up, Norwich, Wolves coming up as well, Southampton, Watford, Chelsea, Palace, Man City, to take us to the end of April. A lot of teams will be looking at Leeds and thinking, we know how they play, because from if Bielsa were there, they'll be thinking, we know how Leeds play, we know there's going to get space, and we know there's going to be opportunities for us to score goals. With this Jesse Marsh side, they don't know how we're going to set up. Jesse Marsh revealed earlier that he has got a formation in mind and what he's been working on with the players for the match this weekend. He's not disclosed that, which is, I think, is a good idea, not to disclose formation you're working on, which then will give the opposition an upper hand to show what formation the team is going to be coming up against in the table. I think Leeds could potentially cause a shock here. And Leicester currently sitting 12th, Leeds on 23 points, Leicester on 30 points. So Leeds could end up closing that gap in the end and could go above Newcastle prior to Newcastle and Brentford. Could go above those two prior to those two playing later on now in the weekend. I think Leeds could end up nicking a win here, Sam. I'm not going to say what scoreline, but I think Leeds could end up nicking a win here. I think it'll be a close game, but I think Leeds will just edge it, and I think Leeds will come out on top with a victory at the King Power Stadium. And last season, we won at the King Power Stadium last season, and I think we could do the same again this season, Sam, as well.
Yeah, of course, it was a 3-1 win for Leeds. I remember last season there, so that was quite an entertaining game as well, actually. But I'm actually going to ask now as well, Russ, if you're to predict at this moment in time where you think Leeds will finish in the league table, obviously very difficult to predict that when you're getting in a new manager, because that, of course, could go one of two ways. But, looking at Marsh's track record and just looking at the football you think you're going to play, and providing all your injuries do come back as well in a good time, what's your prediction right now for where Leeds will end this season?
Well, at the moment, as I'm recording this with you, Sam, we're currently sitting 16th place, 2 points above the drop zone on 23 points. Brighton 10 points above us in 10th. I don't think we'll be as high as that. I think potentially we could finish right about mid-table, so like 12th, 13th. I think we could move up a couple of places because we've got, like I mentioned, we've got Aston Villa coming up on next Thursday. Be Leicester, be Villa, going to Norwich next Sunday, win that as well. So 3 wins there could then take us clear of the relegation zone. Yes, I know teams in and around us have got games in hand. If we just do like what Jesse Marsh was saying earlier, it's not bothered about what Burnley do or what Everton do or Brentford or Newcastle do, or even Aston Villa do, or Leicester do for that matter. He just focuses on what Leeds United do. And I think if we all do that as a collective, as a team, and as a fan base, and we get behind them and get the points on the board, which we really need at this moment in time with where we are in the table and how tight it is between ourselves and the bottom three at this moment in time. I think if I were to put a prediction on it now, I'll probably say 13th, maybe, well, about 13th maybe, I reckon, come the end of the season. I don't think we'll break into the top 10 this season. Stay up, finish around about 13th, but consolidation, then build more foundations on what Jesse Marsh wants to do moving forward next season. What I did find interesting from his press conference earlier as well, Sam, is he did say that whatever happens is here for the long haul. It's not like got a release clause in his contract like you still see with some managers should the teams get relegated. So for me, I think we'll finish about 13th and stay up and then push on next season, get the players in that March wants. The likes of Brennan Aronson, who we were linked with in January, Takumi Minamino, who we were linked with in January as well, who's worked with the new manager Jesse Marsh at Leeds United, at Leipzig and Salzburg, respectively, I think it's both at Leipzig actually, where they've worked with him before. So he knows what how they work. He knows they know how he works. So if we can get that sorted, get those players in, get more players in as well, get rid of players who we don't think is up for scratching up for his levels moving forward, then we'll finish by 13th, then push on, and who knows where we'll be this time next year.
Yeah, very interesting time ahead, of course, for Leeds United. Obviously, that's a big shoes to fill for Marsh and Marcelo Bielsa. But Marsh, of course, could possibly come in and do a good job if he keeps the team up this season. It will surely be considered a success, and then it's all about what happens next season at Ellen Road. But that's all we've got time for in this interview anyway this evening, Russ. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you all enjoyed listening, and I'll see you all soon.
Yes. Just before we do go, Sam, just finish, just want to add in here as well. I just want to say a big congratulations to someone who's worked tremendously behind the scenes with the under-23s recently, up until recently. Mark Jackson, who was the under-23s head coach. Also, we was in Premier League 2, Division 1 of this moment. The club announced the backroom staff under Jesse Marsh. He's been promoted to the first team squad set up now, which is a good achievement for him. He's worked tremendously hard throughout the time. He won the Premier League Division 2 title with the club as well, and he's done very, very well with the club there. So a big congratulations to Mark Jackson, who's got a well-deserved promotion in Leeds United in the coaching setup.
Yeah, I'm sure most Leeds fans will agree with you as well there, Russ. But yes, that is now all we do have time for this evening on STW Sports. But thank you all very much for listening. And thank you, Russ, for joining me again. And I'll see you all soon.
Cheers, Sam.